I'm getting married to the love of my life. His name's Ken. I met him at a time in my life where I was devastated. So why does my aunt have such a big issue with the man that I'm marrying? It's not her marrying him. Well, let me tell you exactly why my aunt has such a problem with him.
My new husband has just confided in me that my aunt has been racist towards him, and I am shocked. Finding out something bad about someone you thought was good is not very fun. It makes all you question the aspects of your relationship with that person. And I guess you know, things are never the same after that. Some people might say that ignorance is bliss, but I'm not one of those people. For while the truth hurts, at least it allows you to see a friend from a foe. Now, I know who I will not allow my future kids nearby. Sure, the amount of family I've had has decreased because of who I choose to marry, but at least I do know that the trash took itself out. I just wish that I've been more protective and helped my partner out when I could. I just thought that my aunt was being overprotective. I did not realize the dark truth of why she was so reserved towards my husband. But now that he has brought it all to my attention, I'm appalled. I've spoken to her about this, and her reaction has shocked me further. However, before we get to what transpired between me and my aunt, let me give you a bit of a backstory. My aunt is my mother's sister. She lives in the same town as my parents, and she has 2 daughters and is married to a very respected man in the community. They do a lot for the community, and in fact, this man is running to be the mayor of the town. Recently, I got married to the absolute love of my life. I met my husband Ken while I was at a work trip. I had a problem with the person who was supposed to pick me up at the airport not showing up. It turns out they spelled my name wrong on the placard. Like, dead wrong. The first letter was not even the same. I was stressed because I was in a new country and did not know anyone. I did not speak the language as well, so I had no idea where my hotel was. So I walked around the airport till I decided that I needed to get out of there. I finally managed to get a message through to my workplace, and they told me the name of the hotel. So then I looked for a cab driver to get me there. But it was pretty late at night, and they would not stop. When they did stop, they did not understand me. It was a very confusing day for me, and I realized that the stereotype of all cab drivers knowing a little bit of English was wrong. While they knew English, they just did not seem to be able to understand me. Well, I was starting to get pretty frantic, as you can imagine, and I wanted to cry because everything was going wrong for me on that particular day. I was freaking out, calling out person who was supposed to be receiving me to no avail. And there it was. Out came my knight in shining armor. He said that I would not get a ride at that time, and I asked why, and he said that there's been some stuff happening on that side of town, and nobody wanted to go there. He was shocked that my company put me up here, and well, he then told me that I not need to faint. He'll take me. He knew the local language and was here on business, so I got into his car with a stranger, and he took me to my destination, and you know what the best part was? He told me that he was a pilot and was actually based in my city. It was so good to see a familiar face. He took me to the hotel and made sure I got there safely, and we took each other's numbers, and you know what? The rest was history. We got married this past weekend, and it was the best day of my life. We're still in town visiting family, and we're also considering buying a house here. I was very happy all week, but it seemed like something was weighing him down. So of course I forced him to tell me what was going on, and that's when he told me that my family did not like him. I was shocked, wondering where that would even come from. They have been very friendly towards him as far as I know, and that's when he told me the great details of how he had been treated by a certain member of my family. He said that when he first met my Aunt Cassie and shook her hand, she wiped it on her dress right after. He also noticed how she never addressed him directly. It was always through me. In addition to that, she avoided touching anything that he touched. He said that at first he thought he was just overreacting. He didn't want to cause problems in the family due to misunderstandings, clearly. But he said that she sometimes made comments. Comments that would undermine his intelligence and his success, as if he did not achieve his success legally. Several times she accused him of trying to marry me for a green card. That's funny because he was born here. You see, my husband's Black Korean. He looks more black than Korean, but his hair is a telltale sign. He says that my aunt made some COVID jokes in front of him as soon as she found out that he was part Korean. Oh my gosh, COVID ended years ago. The nerve of that woman. So yeah, she's basically been making him feel very unwelcome. That had me thinking of something. I noticed that the gift she gave us for our wedding was not as big as the one that she got for my sister's wedding. I did not want to be ungrateful, so I asked her about it. But as he told me more of what she had done, I started to see it. Earlier today, she called me and my cousin. That is her daughter who's out of state in college. My cousin is the one who added me to the call and wanted to ask about the wedding. So of course I told her all the details and we went through the pictures, and as we did that, I heard my aunt say some things that were not necessary every time that we got to Ken's pictures. Then my cousin said that we would make some very cute babies, and my aunt then said that it was a pity none of the kids who, well, would have green or blue eyes, which are very prevalent in our family. She then said that she hoped that they would at least have straight hair. I said that I did not really care how they looked. She then said that, well, she was glad that none of her kids would take such a gamble with genes. I then said it was weird of her to predict that her daughters would marry white men. She then said that they were not like us. They would keep their family line pure. I was absolutely taken back by how she had no shame with what she was saying. I then told her that since when did being white mean pure? She then raised her voice at me and said she never meant that whiteness was pure. She said, well, it's best to be careful when mixing races. What if my child came out weird? I asked what she meant by weird. She then said that if my child was dark, they would have a hard time and would not fit in with other kids. I was boiling by this point. I told her that I've been trying to keep quiet about this, but this was enough. I told her that she had no right to act racist like that towards him. She then said that she loved me so much, but she needed to know that what I had done was out of the norm and worrying. I asked why she said that, and she said that everyone felt that way. She said that they did not know how to feel about my husband and how to act around him. I was just so angry at this point that I wanted to just call her every name under the sun. My husband then came in the moment and asked me if I wanted some food, so I hung up on her. I was so ashamed that this was the kind of family I had. Oh boy, how I've been so blind to how they really are all these years. I thought that they were past that period in time. How could we have made so much progress as the world, and yet there are still small-minded people like my aunt who exist? Update number 1. So, my conversation with my aunt has started a whole thing in my family. People in the family are saying that we should apologize to her for accusing her of being racist. In her defense, she claims that she was just wondering how our kids would look. I've been talking with other people in the family and let them know about my husband's experience with her. Some of them have actually stood by him and said that it's not okay for her to treat him like that. My parents have been absolute gems the whole time. My mom ripped my aunt a new one when she came over for dinner in the midst of all that was happening. My husband was not there. He had gone to meet with our real estate agent. So it was just me and my parents all along with her daughter, Silver. Silver's a year younger than me and we're close. Well, that's what I thought. When she arrived, she gave me the cold shoulder and would not answer any of the questions that I had. My aunt brought some treats for us, so Mom and Dad dug in. I did as well, but since I'm on a strict diet, I did not eat that much. She tried to act normal, like nothing happened during that week, as if I was not being told by several people that I was alienating the wrong person. Most people in the family always go with what she says because of her husband's position, but then, of course, she had to start again on the topic. She said that she never thought that I would marry out of my race. This man must be very, very rich. Her words were unprovoked. No one said anything about my husband at all, and she just decided to mention it. My mother then told her that she was not going to make me uncomfortable or talk about her son-in-law like that. My aunt then said that we should be grateful that she was even trying to make peace by bringing the gift basket. So my mom laughed and asked if overpriced sweets were worth more than an actual apology. Then My aunt said that she tried to reach out to me and fix this, but since I did not want to, I had to be careful. So then I asked her what she meant by that, and she then told me that she would be damned if her family, which was about to become like royalty, be tainted with unclean blood. Yeah, I kid you not. Like literally, she was some villain in an anime. Clearly, she was never sorry, and she's still this raging racist that she always has been. Does she not know that people are not defined by how they look? How can she know that every person that she deems worthy of respect is actually white? I mean, I can't even believe that such an ignorant woman's related to me. But don't you worry. I think I have a plan. Something that will surely teach her that race does not matter. She has nothing to be proud of because her family all appear Caucasian. Update number 2. One thing about me is that I don't take crap when it comes to the people that I love. I love my husband a lot. He's my family. He's been there for me during some difficult times, and I want us to be able to settle down in this town, raise our kids, and be happy. That's the thing. It's not like this town is some small town where most people are white. This town has a variety of races and cultures, and some people who have very important professions are of different races. These are people that my aunt interacts with because of her husband's campaign. She shakes hands with them, yet still has some very archaic views, and I can also imagine that her husband also has some of those views. That would make sense because in all this, he has not once apologized for her behavior. Surely he must believe that her views are right. One thing I do know is that prejudice is harmful and can lead to some very bad outcomes. How can this town have a mayor who does not believe in equality? Will my children be safe here when the enemy's within my own family? For I sure as hell know that I don't want to change the town that I want to move to. I mean, this town is safe, has some of the best schools, and is close to my parents. With Ken traveling so much, I'll need as much support from the family as possible. So then I convinced Ken to help me to expose my aunt and her racist family. I know that doing it is going to hurt her husband's chances in the polls. I think that'll knock her down a peg or two and lose her favor from the people of color in our community. She claims to be all about everyone matters. But that's hypocrisy, because her husband clearly shares the same views. Why else would he condone this? The words that she has said have cut through me. I can only imagine how they have made my husband feel. His family has accepted me with no prejudice, but mine is having a debate about what color our kids will be. Why the hell should it matter what color they are? What is important is that they will be healthy. Because of this, I'm going to pool all the resources that I have to teach her a little lesson. She cannot prance around acting all superior. She really thinks that her bloodline is pure. Well then, I'll show her pure chaos. Everyone will know what a piece of turd she is. Update number 3. Do you know what I love about people who are inherently prejudiced? Their mask. It always slips. It's happened so many times in history. Those people always find a way of exposing themselves and shooting themselves in the foot. That's what my aunt did by choosing to attend a gala that my husband and I did not want her to. Turns out that we have mutual friends with her. A black couple that does philanthropic work in the community. They decided to host a party to raise funds for orphans. My aunt was the very first person to say that she was going to be coming, and when I found out, I sent her a message and told her that I did not want her there. I said that I would tell them who she really was if she dared to show up. I hoped that if she did not get their backing, then her husband's campaign would fail. She told me that I could not tell her what to do. She would attend any gala that she wanted. Why could I not believe that she could have friends of color? So I backed off. I was not going to fight with her for an event. The event went really well, but I kept a sharp eye on her. She seemed to be a bit out of place, steering her daughter out of the way of any young man of color who dared to talk to her. What she did not know was that many of those young men were successful. They would have been a good connection to have, but of course she would not even let her silver be friends with them. Other than that, the event went really well. My parents were there as well, and we did not talk to her. We avoided her as much as we could, like the plague. But then I knew that I had to drop the bomb right then and there. It would have been perfect for her to be exposed right there. So, that's when I sent a text message containing the interesting information that I found out about our heritage. I had to dig a bit to get this information, and maybe if I did not have it, I would not have anything to put her to shame with. I got this information based on a rumor, something that my grandmother told me when I was much younger, as she was showing me pictures of our family, and I actually had to get a DNA test done to make sure that I was right, that I was actually related to this person so that I could prove a point. That's where Ken came in. He used his contacts and was able to actually find the family of my grandmother, who was actually half black. When my grandmother told me that her mother might have been a half-black woman who was passing, she was getting quite old. Most people claimed that she was senile, so I never told anyone about it. They would just say that she was making up stories, and you know what? I did some research and actually found someone who was from her black side of the family. It was a wild goose chase. She could have easily been wrong, but I did not want to give up. It became less about proving a point after a while and more about finding my own identity. I found a distant relative who was a descendant of her father. We did a test and found out that we were related.
I was so happy to gain a cousin, no matter how distant.
I explained to the cousin that I had a hunch due to something my grandmother would tell me. So I compiled all the information into a file that I attached to a text message telling everyone that I just found out our new relative from our great-grandmother's black side. I watched my aunt read the message. As soon as she read it, she turned white, ghost pale.
And then she slowly started to turn red as a tomato.
She walked right up to me and asked me to delete the lies that I just posted on the group. There's no way that she was related to a black woman. I laughed. I chuckled. I told her that if she wanted, we could just do the ancestry test. It was like she's been struck by lightning because she could not simply comprehend it. She then said no. There's no way. None of us looked black, we were pure white. She then starts to laugh, and I watched her as sanity appeared to leave her.
She starts screaming at me, hollering, telling me that her bloodline was pure, untainted. This was a lie.
I stayed calm, as she called me all sorts of names, and her husband tried to calm her down, telling her that it's not a big deal.
The music was already soft, so her loud voice attracted everyone's attention.
She did not notice that she shouted at him, saying that it's not possible that she's part black. She was as white as anyone could be. She said that she did not have, and I quote, dirty blood.
Her husband told her to watch how she spoke about other people,
and asked what had gotten into her. She literally was having a meltdown, and she kept on saying, no, 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 no. She was crying as if she had just lost something very important to her. Her husband, on the other hand, looked very upset and straight up embarrassed. He tried to get her to shut up, but she would not stop talking. She pushed him away, telling him that he did not understand what it meant for her. How could she even look at herself anymore? She looked at her hands as if she was expecting them to turn darker. Meanwhile, everybody was staring at her in complete awe. I noticed that quite a few people had their phones out recording my aunt's racist outburst, and I laughed and said, that turns out that her family was not as pure as she thought. She got very upset and tried to launch at me. So, my husband grabbed her and told her not to dare touch me or she would end up in prison. She then told him to leave her alone and called him a slur. I'm not going to say what it is, obviously, but it's a name that was used a long time ago to describe someone who is mixed. That's when the host, Gabriella, told her that was enough. She was not welcome at the party. Until then, my aunt had been seeing red. She did not notice that everybody had stopped what they were doing to look at her, and her eyes widened and she seemed taken back. She tried to beg the host to let her stay, but the host would not allow it. She told her that the hate speech was not allowed at the party, so you know what? She has to leave.
Well, we had just gotten home from the party and were now witnessing the fallout of her being exposed.
It went even better than I could have possibly expected. I had just wanted to shatter her mind a little bit so that she would not judge anybody, but come on. She went above and beyond to embarrass herself, and that, to me, is considered
the perfect revenge.
Update number 4. My aunt's meltdown kicked the dominoes, and everything started to fall apart. She lost it. She felt that she was betrayed, and she took it out on everyone, even her husband. The man was stuck in an absolute PR nightmare. His entire campaign was jeopardized because of her views. She could not leave the house for people called her out in public, and no one was on her side. She was a martyr. All of her friends that she used to brag about did not want to be associated with her. Not at all. And with her marriage on the line, her life was not going that well. But you know what the best part was? Her daughter, Silver, moved out with her dad. She was disgusted by her mother, realizing that the man had pure hatred for people of, well, other races, even herself. She reached out to me to apologize for going along with her mother's prejudice. She said that in the beginning, she had believed all that her mom told her. Her mom had always been dismissive of people from different races, and her dad never said anything about it. She said that they were all blinded by how she phrased her words, but the revelation that she too was part black made her realize that what her mother was saying was not okay. She realized that while she tried to advocate for other races, she clearly had to learn a lot. So when her mom kicked her out, she decided to go with her dad. Summer, on the other hand, also took her dad's side. Silver filled her in on everything that happened and her mom's outburst, and that was when Summer revealed that she was dating a girl of a different race. She had been wanting to bring her girlfriend to meet her family for ages, but she knew what her mother was like. Hiding her girlfriend had put such a strain on her relationship that it was literally hanging on by a thread. As for the family, they are fair-weathered friends. If they were any that agreed with my aunt, they did not publicly support her. They all had business and could not afford to alienate the community, so they all claimed that they did not support my aunt's views in public. I still don't trust any of them, though, and I will limit my kids' interactions with them in the future. As for my Uncle Bryce, he tried to do damage control by distancing himself from my aunts when his polls started going down. He issued a public statement that he was separating from his wife and did not condone any of her hate speech. However, nobody was willing to back him, because despite knowing how she was, he stayed married to her for years. He claimed that he would do right by the minority, but Gabriella and others rejected him. They decided to back his opponent. The elections were moved up, and guess what? He lost. I'm glad to know that he lost, because obviously he did not want to stay married to her now that she was branded a well-known racist. Who's to even say that he would have been a fair mayor? He stood by while the wife just bullied my husband and other people of color, even though she did it subtly. When she found out that she was part black, she had the meltdown, like it was the worst thing that could have happened to her. Oh, in addition to that, he and my aunt are getting divorced. She's trying to sue him for everything that he has, but from what I know, he's trying to prevent her. Who knows how that's going to work out? I have no idea, but you know what, guys? My work is done here.
I would have done anything to see that meltdown in public. I mean, she got everything she deserved, and I'm glad that she kind of lost where she was at. Her surroundings, she didn't know people were paying attention to her at the party, and she just starts spitting all this nonsensical, racist garbage, and people finally saw her for who she was. But that's not all. She dragged her husband down with her because he was such a floor mat he wouldn't even stand up to her and say, hey, what you're saying is not right and I don't condone it. Imagine being a public figure like that and just going along with what his wife was doing. It was insane. I do want to know your thoughts on today's stories, guys. We do know that he ended up losing the battle. He did not win what he was trying to win, which was mayor. So let me know your thoughts about today's stories in the comment section down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I do narrate these sort of stories every day. So if you want to be a part of these daily readings, make sure you hit that subscribe button. It only takes a second, and it does help support the channel a lot, and you'll never miss a video. I'll see you guys tomorrow, but of course, just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.